Screams in the smoke-thick smoke filled the air. The sky had turned red. Trees burned like torches, and the wind carried the smell of fire and fear. Somewhere deep in the forest, something terrible had happened. A little alien girl, no older than 6, stumbled through the ashes. Her skin was pale blue, her eyes wide with terror. She wore torn clothes and had no shoes on her feet. Her tiny hands shook as she pushed through broken branches. Then she screamed. It was not just a cry, it was a scream filled with fear, pain, and helplessness. Her voice echoed through the burning woods. High above the trees, a shadow moved. Wings stretched wide. Scales shimmered in the firelight. A huge dragon flew overhead, its eyes glowing like red-hot coals. The alien girl screamed again, louder this time. Not far from the forest, a small human camp stood. People had seen the smoke. Some had come to help. Most had run away. One man stood still. He was tall, with messy dark hair and a heavy coat. His boots were covered in mud, and he held a walking stick in his hand. He had just arrived in the area, a traveler passing through. He heard the scream. Others looked at him. "Leave it," one man said. "It's just an alien kid. The dragon will eat her anyway. Not our problem," said another. The human man looked toward the smoke. He narrowed his eyes. "A child's a child," he said softly. Without another word, he grabbed his bag, tightened the strap over his shoulder, and ran toward the burning forest. The heat hit him hard. Flames danced around him as he pushed deeper into the trees. His clothes became soaked in sweat. The ground was hot. But he kept going. He followed the sound of crying. Then he saw her. She was trapped under a broken tree branch, curled up and shaking. Her knees were scraped, her face covered in ash. She looked up and saw him. Her eyes were full of fear and confusion. The man dropped to his knees beside her. "Are you hurt?" he asked gently. She didn't answer. She just stared. The dragon roared in the distance. The man looked up. The creature was circling above, its wings sending down waves of heat with every flap. He grabbed the branch and lifted it. It was heavy, but he managed to pull it away. Then he reached for the girl's hand. "Come with me," he said. She hesitated. Then slowly placed her tiny hand in his. They didn't get far. With a loud crash, the dragon landed in front of them. Its claws sank into the dirt. Fire spilled from its mouth. It looked at the human, then at the child, then growled. The man gently pushed the girl behind him. "Run if I say so," he whispered. She clung to the back of his coat. The dragon stepped forward. The human man didn't have a weapon. Only a stick, a bag of supplies, and his courage. He knew he couldn't kill the dragon, but maybe he could distract it long enough for the child to escape. "Hey!" he shouted. "Over here!" The dragon growled louder, smoke rising from its nose. The man picked up a rock and threw it at the beast's head. It hit, but barely made a sound. The dragon turned its glowing eyes toward him. He stood tall, arms wide. "Come on, I'm not afraid of you." Behind him, the little girl let out a soft cry. The dragon lunged. The man jumped aside just in time. Fire shot from the dragon's mouth, burning the trees behind him. He rolled, grabbed a sharp branch, and held it like a spear. He knew this was a fight he might not win, but he was ready to give everything, to protect a child who had no one. Smoke covered the ground like a blanket. The alien child watched through the fog. Her hands covered her mouth, her eyes full of tears. She didn't know this human. She didn't even know his name. But he had come for her when no one else did. And now, he was standing between her and the dragon. She had never seen bravery like this before, and she would never forget it. The dragon's roar still echoed in the air. The human man stood with a broken branch in his hands, facing the beast like a soldier with no armor. The firelight danced in his eyes and smoke circled around his feet. Behind him, the alien girl clutched his coat tightly, her small body trembling. The villagers watched from far away. None dared to enter the forest. They whispered among themselves, "Why? Is he doing this? She's just an alien girl." He'll die for nothing. But the man didn't care what they said. His eyes were only on the dragon and the child behind him. "Don't move," he whispered to the girl. She nodded, too scared to speak. The dragon snarled, its claws digging deep into the ground. It was testing him, waiting for him to run. But he didn't move. Instead, the man slowly stepped to the side, drawing the dragon's attention. The beast followed, curious. "Angry. Good," the man muttered. "Look at me. Only me." Then he shouted loud, "Run!" The girl didn't want to leave. She froze. "Run!" he roared again, this time louder. The alien child turned and ran, tears falling down her cheeks as she disappeared into the thick smoke. The dragon noticed, but the human was faster. He threw the sharp branch like a spear. It hit the dragons, like not deep but enough to make it roar in pain. The beast lunged toward the man. He jumped back, rolled over hot ash, and grabbed a burning stick from the ground. He waved it in front of the dragon's face. The flames didn't scare the creature much, but the human's courage made it pause. For a moment, they just stared at each other. A small man and a massive beast. "I'm not leaving her behind," he said. "So come on, monster, I'm not done yet." Far away, the alien child had stopped running. She hid behind a fallen tree, covering her ears. Every roar made her heart jump. She wanted to go back, but her legs wouldn't move. Then she remembered something. A long time ago, her mother told her stories about brave humans, creatures from another world who weren't like the others. She never believed them. Until now. The dragon finally struck. Its tail whipped through the air and knocked the man off his feet. He landed hard. The wind knocked out of him. Blood ran down his arm. His stick rolled away. The dragon roared in triumph, but the man stood back up. He limped toward the beast, face covered in ash and sweat. "You're not scaring me," he said, even though his voice shook. The dragon raised its head, fire forming in its throat. The man didn't flinch. Just as the flames shot forward, boom! A loud sound cut through the forest. The old water tank nearby exploded. The heat had cracked its frame, and now water rushed down the hill, crashing through the burning trees. The flood hit both the dragon and the man. Steam rose as the fire died down. The dragon screamed in pain. It flapped its wings and took off, rising high into the smoky sky, flying away into the clouds. The forest fell quiet. Later, the girl found him lying in the mud. He was breathing, but barely. She ran to him and dropped to her knees. Please wake up," she whispered, shaking his shoulder. The man opened one eye. "You didn't run far enough," he joked weakly. She burst into tears and hugged him. "You're safe. That's all that matters," he said softly. She looked at him and asked, "Why did you help me?" "I'm nothing." The man smiled, even in pain. "You screamed like my little sister once did. No one helped her. I couldn't let that happen again." Tears rolled down her cheeks. He looked at the sky. "We need to leave this place. More danger will come." She nodded. "I'll carry you," he said. "But you're hurt," she whispered. "I've been hurt before," he said, slowly sitting up. "But never had someone to protect." The human wrapped his arm around her and limped toward the edge of the forest. The fire was gone. The dragon was gone. But their journey had just begun. The sky was gray, filled with the smell of smoke and wet ash. Trees stood like broken bones around them. The man's boots squished in the mud with every step, and the little alien girl held his hand tightly, afraid he might fall again. His coat was torn. His face was cut. One of his eyes was nearly swollen shut. But he didn't stop. She looked up at him. "Why are you still walking?" she whispered. He gave her a weak smile. "Because you're still walking." They didn't speak much after that. Silence followed them through the forest until they found a small wooden shack, half burnt but standing. The man opened the door with care. Inside was nothing but a dirt floor, some old cloth, and a half-melted bench. "It'll do for tonight," he said, and sat down with a heavy sigh. His hand shook as he checked his arm. The burn wasn't deep, but it was ugly. The girl looked at it, then at his face. She had never seen someone fight like that. Never seen someone stand in front of a dragon without weapons, without armor. Just for her. She grabbed the cloth from the corner, dipped it in cold water from a cracked bottle, and gently pressed it on his wound. He flinched, but didn't move. "Way. You're brave," she said quietly. The man chuckled softly. "No? I was scared the whole time." "Then why did you stay?" He looked into her big silver eyes. "Because no one else did." That night she had a nightmare. She cried in her sleep, twitching under a thin sheet. The man woke up to her muffled whimpers. Without thinking, he pulled her closer and wrapped his coat around her. "It's okay. You're safe now," he whispered. In her sleep, she grabbed his shirt and held it tight. The stars above the broken roof blinked quietly as if watching over them. By morning, the man could barely stand. His leg hurt worse now. But he smiled when he saw the little girl sitting near the fire pit, trying to light a fire with shaky hands and a broken spark tool. He moved over slowly and knelt beside her. "You trying to cook breakfast?" he asked. She nodded. "If I can light this. I found some mushrooms outside." He helped her strike the tool until a small flame caught. Together they built a tiny fire. She handed him half a mushroom. "You saved me, so now I feed you." He accepted it without a word. Later that day they walked again, slowly. The forest opened into an old road, broken and full of cracks. No one had used it in years. The man stopped and looked toward the horizon. "We need to reach the next town," he said. "Maybe there's medicine, and maybe someone who cares." The girl looked down. "Do you think they'll accept me there?" "I don't know," he answered honestly. "But I will." They walked until the sun began to fall. In the fading light, the girl turned and asked something she had been holding in her heart. "What's your name?" The man smiled faintly. "Just call me Walker." "And me? What do you want to be called?" She thought for a while. "Mama used to call me Lumi, but I haven't heard that in so long." "Then Lumi it is." She smiled for the first time. Just as the stars returned and the road grew darker, a low rumble shook the ground. The man stopped. Lumi felt it too. "What is that?" He didn't answer. They climbed a small hill, and then they saw it. In the valley below, fire danced. Again. Another dragon, bigger, heavier. Its wings were torn, but its roar was strong, and next to it, something strange. A dark figure cloaked in black stood beside the beast, watching, waiting. "They're searching," the man said. "For you." Lumi stepped back. Her hands shook. "Why? What do they want?" "I don't know," he replied. "But I do know this." He looked at her with fire in his eyes. "They'll have to go through me first." Night had fallen, but it wasn't a quiet night. The sky flashed with orange light in the distance. The new dragon roared again, shaking the ground. Birds flew from trees. Animals ran. Fear returned to the forest. Lumi stood frozen beside Walker, on the hilltop. She couldn't speak. She couldn't blink. The fire in the valley reminded her of her village, her mother, her screams. Walker looked down at her. "We can't stay here." Lumi clutched his hand. "Is it the same dragon?" He shook his head slowly. "No, it's worse. And it's not alone this time." She remembered the dark figure standing beside the beast. Something about that shape. The way it stared. It felt colder than the fire. "Why are they after me?" she whispered. Walker didn't answer right away. His eyes stayed fixed on the fire. "Maybe because you survived. Maybe because you're something they fear." She didn't understand, but she nodded. They found shelter beneath the roots of a giant tree. Thick bark curved like walls around them. Walker used his coat as a blanket for Lumi. She sat curled up, shivering while he watched the dark woods. His leg still hurt, His burn still stung, but his worry for Lumi hurt more. "Are you hungry?" he asked. She shook her head. "Cold?" "A little." He reached over and tucked the coat tighter around her. "You should sleep." She didn't move. Her eyes were wide and full of water. He sighed gently. "Lumi, it's okay. I'm still here." She looked up. But for how long? That question broke something in him. He turned to her fully and placed his hand on her shoulder. "You listen to me. I don't care what's out there. I don't care how big the dragon is or how many are coming. I'm not leaving you. Not ever. But you're hurt." "I've been worse," he said with a soft grin. She didn't smile back. "Don't cry," he said quietly. "I'm still here." Her lips trembled. Then she suddenly leaned forward and hugged him. Tight, like she was holding on to life itself. He held her back, gently stroking her dusty hair. In that quiet space between heartbeats, something changed. Not just protection, not just kindness. It was trust. By morning, the fire in the valley was gone, but the smoke rose higher than before. Walker helped Lumi climb out of the root shelter. The sun hadn't broken through the clouds. The air was thick, silent. "Come on," he said. "We need to keep moving." Lumi nodded. They walked for hours, step by step, through ash, through silence. Walker limped more with each mile, but he never stopped, not once. Around midday, Lumi suddenly froze. Walker turned. "What is it?" She pointed behind them. "Look." Far off in the distance, something was moving through the trees. Not just one thing. Many. "They found our trail," Walker said. Lumi grabbed his hand. "What do we do?" He looked around. There was no shelter, no cave, no building, only the wreckage of a crashed old ship nearby, half buried in dirt and moss. "Come on," he said, running toward it. Inside the broken ship, it was dark. Sharp metal edges and shattered glass filled the space. But it was shelter. For now, Walker pushed Lumi behind a panel. "Hide here. No matter what happens, stay quiet." She shook her head. "No, don't go out there." "I have to. You'll die." He knelt beside her. "Lumi, I already chose this path when I walked into that fire. I'm not turning back now." Tears ran down her cheeks. "Please." He gently wiped one away. "Don't cry," he whispered again. "I'm still here." Then he stood up and faced the door. Outside, the footsteps grew louder. A group of dark figures moved through the trees, silent, cloaked, with strange markings on their skin. Behind them, the dragon came, sniffing the air, dragging its claws through the dirt. Walker stood tall in front of the wrecked ship, hands empty. One of the cloaked beings stepped forward. "You hold something that belongs to us?" The creature hissed. "She doesn't belong to anyone," Walker replied. The figure tilted its head. "You'll die for her?" Walker didn't blink. "If that's the price, then yes." The dragon growled. The air grew hot. The ground trembled. Lumi watched from the crack in the metal panel, hands over her mouth. She wanted to scream, but she remembered his words. "Don't cry. I'm still here." And somehow, in her small chest, something strange began to glow. The air was still, but the ground felt alive. Walker stood at the mouth of the broken ship, facing the cloaked figures and the dragon behind them. He had no weapons, no shield, only burned skin, tired bones, and a reason to stand tall. Inside the wreckage, Lumi crouched behind metal panels. Her heart beat like a drum. Her small body glowed softly, so faint that even she didn't notice. She wanted to run to him, she wanted to scream, but she remembered his words. "Don't cry. I'm still here." So she stayed still and watched. The lead figure stepped forward again. Its voice sounded like dry leaves. "Give us the child." Walker didn't move. "She's not yours. You don't know what she is." "I know." "Enough," he said, his voice sharp. The dragon growled behind the figure. Its wings twitched. Flames danced between its teeth. The figure raised one long finger. Last chance, human. Walker took a deep breath. Then he reached into his coat and slowly pulled out a metal flare, one of the last from his bag. He twisted it fast. A blinding white flash burst into the sky. The dragon shrieked. The cloaked figures stumbled back. Walker turned and ran into the ship. "Now, Lumi," he shouted. She jumped up. "What's happening?" "We're leaving." "But how?" He grabbed her hand and led her through a narrow path inside the wreck, through bent metal and thick dust. At the back of the ship, a tunnel had caved in, but he had cleared part of it earlier just in case. "Crawl," he said. She didn't ask questions. They slid through the small space like mice escaping fire. Outside, the forest roared with sound. The flare had died, and now the dragon was furious. Fire spread fast. Trees collapsed. The cloaked ones searched everywhere, but they were always one step behind. Walker and Lumi broke out the other side, coughing and gasping. They ran across the ash-covered field, heading toward the distant hills. Smoke followed them. So did the beast. Hours passed. They crossed burnt roads, fallen trees, and dry rivers. Walker limped worse now. Each step was pain, but he kept going. Lumi noticed. "You need to rest," she said, worried. "Can't," he said, out of breath. "Not yet, but you'll fall." He stopped finally and leaned against a rock. His face was pale. Sweat ran down his neck. "Okay, just for a minute." They sat under a dead tree. Ash fell like gray snow. The world was quiet again, but the silence felt heavy. "I don't understand," Lumi said softly. "Why do they want me?" Walker looked at her. "I think they fear what you can become." She blinked. "What do you mean?" He hesitated, then said, "Back at the ship, you glowed." Lumi looked down at her hands. "I did?" "Yes. And I think you've done it before, maybe when your village was attacked, maybe you survived not just by luck." She said nothing. He continued, "They know something you don't. Maybe you're not just a survivor. Maybe you're a key to something bigger." Lumi's hands shook. "But I'm just a girl." Walker smiled faintly. So was every legend, before they became one. That night, they found a ruined station on the edge of the old zone, a half-buried checkpoint from long ago. Metal walls, broken monitors, faded warning signs in alien language. They made camp in a corner. Lumi curled up beside him, but didn't sleep. Walker stared at the ceiling. His body ached all over. But his mind stayed on one thing: how to keep her safe. Suddenly, Lumi spoke. "If something happens to you..." He turned his head slowly. "What should I do?" He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Find someone better than me, and if you can't, be better than me." Tears slipped from her eyes. She wiped them quickly. "You're the best person I've ever met." Walker smiled weakly. "That's because you're too young to meet terrible people." She shook her head. "I've met them. You're not one of them." He closed his eyes. "Good. That means I'm doing something right." In the middle of the night, something strange happened. Lumi's chest glowed again, but brighter this time. A soft blue light rose from her body. Walker opened his eyes and sat up. "Lumi?" She was floating a few inches above the ground, still asleep. Her hair moved as if touched by wind. The light grew. Then she opened her eyes, and the light vanished. She fell gently into Walker's arms. He held her close. "You're changing," he whispered. She blinked slowly. "I don't know what's happening to me." Walker looked toward the hills. "Then we'll find someone who does. Because the journey through ash wasn't the end. It was just the beginning." Wind howled through the broken station. Walker sat near the door, gripping a rusted metal pipe like a weapon. Every few minutes he looked at Lumi, who lay wrapped in his coat sleeping peacefully for the first time in days. But something in the air felt wrong, too quiet, too still. Then he heard it, a distant thud, then another, like thunder, but slower. He stepped outside. The sky was dark purple now. The moon hid behind the clouds, and then he saw it, a shadow moving across the hills, wide, tall, and angry. The dragon had returned, but this time, it wasn't alone. Behind it moved tall figures, not cloaked like before. These wore armor, metal plates with glowing symbols. Their faces were hidden behind black helmets, and in the center of the group stood a being taller than all, wearing a long red robe. Walker felt a chill down his spine. They weren't just searching now, they were hunting. Inside the station, Lumi woke up. Her fingers tingled. Her chest felt warm. She gasped and sat up. "Walker," she whispered. He rushed in. "We need to move now." Her eyes widened. "They found us?" He nodded. "They're coming with more than just fire this time." She stood quickly, still barefoot, but stronger now. "Where?" He pointed toward a vent. "Old emergency. Tunnel under the station. Might still lead out." They moved fast, but before they could reach it, boom! The front wall exploded in fire. Walker threw himself over Lumi as metal rained down around them. Through the smoke stepped the dragon, larger than before. Its body was covered in scars now, and new armor plates had been strapped to its chest. Its eyes locked onto Lumi. The red-robed figure stepped beside it. "You cannot run forever, girl," the voice echoed in the air. Walker stood between them, arms wide. "You're not taking her." The robed being tilted its head. "You protect her, yet you do not know what she is. I don't care. She is not a child, she is a weapon. She was grown for power. She was designed to destroy." Lumi shook her head behind Walker. "That's not true." The figure pointed a long finger. "Ask your own blood. Ask your dreams. You've seen it, haven't you?" Tears welled up in Lumi's eyes. She had seen things, glimpses, a lab, wires, people with masks, and pain. So much pain. "No," she whispered. Walker didn't move. "Even if it's true, she gets to choose who she becomes, not you." The dragon roared. The soldiers raised their weapons. Lumi closed her eyes and screamed, but not in fear. The air around her shimmered. Walker turned. Blue light poured from her hands. Her feet lifted from the ground, and the blast came. A wave of pure energy slammed through the station, knocking the soldiers back like leaves in a storm. The dragon growled and tried to fly, but Lumi's power pushed it to the ground. The red-robed figure stepped back, arms raised in defense. Walker stared, speechless. Lumi floated in the air, eyes glowing bright blue. And then, just like that, it stopped. She collapsed into Walker's arms. He held her close. "I've got you, you're okay." The red-robed figure stood again, dusting off his cloak. His voice was calm. "She's awakened." Walker stood tall. "Then you better run before she learns to control it." But the figure only smiled. "This is just the beginning." He turned and vanished with the dragon and the soldiers in a blinding red light. Silence returned. Lumi slowly opened her eyes. "Did I hurt you?" Walker shook his head. "No. You saved both of us." She looked at her glowing hands. They were right. "I'm different." He knelt in front of her. "Listen to me. You're not a weapon. You're not a monster. You're Lumi, and you're still just a child." She began to cry. "But what if I hurt someone else next time?" He placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then I'll be there to hold you back. I'm not going anywhere." That night they lit a small fire far from the broken station. Lumi stared into the flames. "I don't want to be what they made me." Walker looked up at the stars. "Then be something greater," she whispered. "Like what?" He smiled. "Like hope. Because now the world had changed. The hunters knew where she was. The dragons were coming again. But they wouldn't find a scared girl anymore. They'd find someone who had something worth protecting, and someone who would protect her, even with nothing but his bare hands. Morning came slowly. The sky was soft gray, and the trees stood still like they were listening. A calm wind blew across the valley, but deep in the hearts of two travelers, peace had not returned. Walker watched. Lumi sleep beside the small fire. She looked peaceful, but he knew the storm inside her had just begun. He had seen what she could do, the raw energy, the light that burst from her hands. It had scared even the dragon, and it scared her too. By midday, Lumi woke. She sat up quietly and looked at her hands. They were just small blue fingers, but she remembered how they had glowed, how the fire had obeyed her. Walker handed her some dried food. Eat. We need strength. She took it but didn't eat. Walker, I'm not normal. He nodded. That's true. She looked down. Then what am I? He sighed and looked at the trees around them. You are what they feared you would become, but with one difference. What? You have a choice. She looked at him. You can be their weapon, he said, or you can be something they'll never understand. What's that? A girl? With a heart? Lumi's eyes watered. You're not alone anymore, he said. And if the fire inside you ever burns too wild, I'll stand in the middle of it. Suddenly the wind shifted. Walker stood quickly. They're coming. From the ridge, dark shapes began to appear. Dozens of soldiers in metal armor, marching like machines. Above them, the dragon returned, wings torn, eyes glowing red with hate. And in the center, the red-robed figure once. More walkers stepped in front of Lumi. We stand here, he said. No more running. Lumi's voice trembled. There's too many. You'll die. He looked back at her. Then I'll die standing between you and them. The soldiers stopped. The dragon landed with a ground-shaking thud, its eyes locked on Lumi. The robed figure raised a hand. Step aside, human. Walker's feet stayed planted. No. You are flesh. She is power. You cannot stop what has already begun. Walker smiled. Maybe. But sometimes, fire chooses to protect instead of destroy. He reached back and held Lumi's hand. Let them come, he said. The dragon roared and charged. The army moved like waves behind it. Lumi closed her eyes. Her body shook. But this time, she didn't feel afraid. She felt him, his hand, steady and strong. She opened her eyes. Blue fire rose around her, but it didn't explode this time. It flowed around them like a shield, gentle, controlled. Walker looked at her in awe. You're doing it, she nodded. Not alone. The dragon struck the firewall and screamed. Its flame was pushed back. Its body was thrown through the air, crashing into rocks. The army paused, confused. The red-robed figure stepped forward. You are awakening, but you are still a child. Lumi raised her hand, glowing like a star. I'm not what you made me, she said. I'm not your weapon. He stepped back, unsure. Walker smiled. Looks like you're scared now. The figure snarled and raised his hands. But Lumi's energy surged again, brighter than the sun. A wave of light blasted across the field. The army dropped their weapons. Some fell to their knees. The red-robed figure screamed and vanished in the wind. The dragon limped away, broken, afraid, defeated. Silence followed. Walker dropped to his knees, breathing hard. Lumi ran to him. You're okay? He looked up at her glowing face. You did it. She smiled with tears in her eyes. No, we did it. That night they sat under the stars. Real stars this time, not hidden by smoke or fear. Where will we go now? Lumi asked. Walker leaned back and smiled. Anywhere, you're free. She held his hand. Will you still come with me? He looked at her like she was his own. Until the stars fall. In the end, The legends would tell of a girl who carried fire in her heart. But they would always forget one thing. It was a brave human who lit that fire. Because sometimes the fire doesn't destroy. Sometimes the fire chooses the brave.